A log raft drifts away from the Tanana River bank in Alaska, heading downstream. Winter's harshness looms near. All creatures race against time, desperately stockpiling food, including hunter Lauro and his father Neil. Today they scout for eddies, to set fishing nets, and beaver traps. First time hunting here after relocating from Yukon, they proceed with caution. Lauro keeps 32 sled dogs for the Iditarod race. Annual meat consumption alone reaches thousands of pounds. After 9 years of preparation, he finally competes in this year's rookie race. More fish and beaver meat will boost the dog's nutrition during competition. Soon, they discover a small eddy. Insects often accumulate here, currents slow, and fish gather to feed, making it ideal for netting. They anchor one end ashore, stretch the net across the eddy, and secure the other end in deep water. Instantly, a fish is caught, securing tonight's dinner. Leaving the raft, they boat toward beaver lodges, woodpile clusters in water, typically marked dens. Ashore, they scan for activity signs. Before setting traps, Conybear 330 traps are chosen, powerful and humane. Beaver meat offers high-fat protein, reserved as race rewards for the dogs. Multiple lodge entrances exist. Trapping each boosts success. Bait used, castor glands. From another beaver, like attracting like. Suddenly, 2 beavers surface, swimming boldly before them, almost taunting. The hunters rejoice at such visible prey. This defiance will cost the beavers dearly. Returning to the net, they make their first check. Tanana's fish outnumber Yukon's. The net overflows quickly, but live salmon must be released immediately to spawn upstream. Ecological recovery depends on universal compliance. Legally, dead salmon may be kept. Enforcement here is scarce, relies on hunters' integrity. This haul yields abundant salmon, but 0 whitefish or pike. Their targets. Clearly a poor netting spot. They retrieve the net to seek new eddies. Across the river, a large eddy appears. Stakes anchor the net ashore. The opposite end sinks deep. They'll return tomorrow, hoping for better results. Alaska offers equal danger and opportunity. En route back, a black bear appears. Harvesting it would accelerate food reserves. Lauro scrambles up a cliff, but the bear vanishes. Opportunity flashes and disappears. Lauro abandons the pursuit. Dawn breaks the next day. Lauro and Neil boat to yesterday's beaver lodge. Success. A colossal beaver is trapped, unprecedented in size after years of hunting. Estimated at 70 pounds, it's a behemoth among its kind. Yet another trap site stuns them. Not just beaverless, the entire Conybear 330 is missing. Debate yields no answers. They concede. Now, the net demands attention, but debris from upstream clogs it hopelessly. Cleaning would drain them physically. This eddy too is useless. As snow threatens, their fishing window narrows relentlessly. On Montana's Yak Valley, legendary hunter Tom has finally returned. The old man beams these days. He luckily caught a red fox. Not rare, but in Yak Valley's dense forests, they're elusive. After 43 years here, this is Tom's first red fox capture. As the saying goes, rarity defines value. Only an exquisite hat can honor such a prize. The fox hide is now brain-tanned. Smoking comes next. Tom drives out to gather punky aspen or larch wood, ideal for generating thick smoke, essential for the process. Winter just grips Montana. Slick terrain demands caution. At Tom's age, a fall could break bones. Smoking offers multiple benefits. It deepens the hide's color, breaks down collagen for suppleness, and boosts water resistance. Even when wet, it stays soft. With a basket of punky wood, Tom heads home. Silent snow falls cold, but his workshop bustles. Tom stitches the fox hide's belly shut, attaching fireproof fabric underneath to shield it from direct heat. Ready now? He moves to the outdoor smoke rack. Ignition begins. Crude as these tools seem, they've processed hundreds, maybe thousands, of hides for Tom. Flames rise in the stove. Smoke billows from the chimney. He hoists the hide on a frame, draping the fabric over the chimney. Smoke flows through the pelt, doing its work. The slow process demands vigilance. Abandoning it risks fire and ruining the precious hide. Nearby, Nancy crafts hat accessories and a medicine pouch from deer hide. Years of artistry mean she owns many patterns. Following them ensures consistency and minimizes errors. She cuts jagged decorative edges, then uses a fork-like tool to punch perimeter holes. 1 hour later, Tom checks the hide. Once white, the interior now glows golden brown. Smoking success. Next, cutting. Fox hide is thin and lacks durability. Extreme care is vital. Damage or waste might mean waiting a next lifetime for another fox pelt. Some might say, just buy one. But Tom seeks artistic integrity. Every step, from capture to creation, must be his own. As always, he traces patterns, cuts, and stitches, using deer sinew whenever possible. With the hat sewn, he cuts a beaver tail patch, signs and dates it, and attaches it to the hat. The finished piece, paired with Nancy's belt, looks utterly sharp. Do you think $1,000 is too steep for such a set? Deep in Alaska's frigid mountains, wilderness couple Brett and Ivy returned early to camp. At the start of trapping season, here they'll endure a harsh, drawn-out winter. To line their routes with traps faster, they rise at 5 a.m. daily, returning after dark. After 2 grueling weeks, they've established a 200-mile trapping line. Today's final outing should wrap up their work. Life will ease considerably after. Living off this rugged land, hunting for food, dwelling in a hand-built cabin. They spend little beyond gasoline and bullets. Debt is rare. One winter's fur harvest typically funds their entire year. To maximize efficiency, they split up today. Ivy sets the last traps, while Brett checks existing ones. Fresh snow fell overnight. 12 inches of powder. Even snowmobiles struggle. Taking a shortcut, they hit a deep ravine. A snow bridge must be built. Shoveling vigorously, they forge a path. Brett guns his machine across. Ivy follows, but her novice skills falter. The sled bogs down instantly. Brett returns, backs up his sled, attaches a tow rope, and yanks hers free. Raised here, Brett has lived solo in the wild since his teens. Ivy's only in her 2nd year. Inexperience is expected. Last season's success fuels this year's ambition. Greater profits. At this open snowfield, they part ways, each tending half the line. For full coverage, after an arduous trek, Ivy reaches her site. Trap setting is now second nature. She handles everything solo. Since joining Brett, she's fallen utterly for the wilderness. Compared to office life, each day here feels adventurous. Yet this raw existence reveals life's true essence. Her pine marten trap is simple. Bait beneath a stick, a snare on its path, enhanced with beaver castor, and Brett's coffee syrup scent lure. Done. Meanwhile, Brett finds fresh marten tracks. At his first trap, uncaught but promising. Prey is active. At the second trap, a marten waits. To a fur trapper, this sight means $100 cash. Such rewards fuel trapping addictions. After 5 hours, Ivy completes her work. Their line now spans 230 miles. Hard-earned experience has graduated her from rookie to novice trapper. One last trap, then home to cook. Brett's tally hits 5 martens. A dazzling start. If this holds, profits will fill their pockets deeply. His streak continues. By the line's end, 8 martens are caught. $800 cash. Dusk falls. He loads his bounty and heads to camp. This haul far exceeds expectations. A sweet life of happiness seems within reach. Tonight, they'll skin every pelt, scrape them clean, and wind dry them. Come season's end, cash awaits. On Montana's Yak Valley, when Montana's new trapping season commenced, Tom drove to the Kootenay region to meet his apprentice Sean and Sean's apprentice Hank. 3 generations planned to board a drift boat, search for beaver lodges, and set traps. Sean worked as a fishing guide along the Kootenay River. He knew many beaver lodges dotted the riverbanks, so he invited his mentor to help him earn extra income. Freshly gnawed saplings lined their route, indicating active beavers nearby. Tom explained these signs to Hank. Though just 11 years old, the boy had already apprenticed under the elder for 2 years. Hank preferred the wilderness to school. Not only passionate about the trade, the boy also possessed exceptional talent. From bird hunting and trapping to hide tanning, he'd learned nearly all the skills. But trapping beavers like this was his first experience. Old Tom cherished this grand apprentice deeply. He hoped to fully pass down his lifetime of knowledge to the next generation. To set traps, they first had to locate beaver lodges. A telltale sign was spotting. Grave mound-shaped piles of dead logs, stacked together mid-river or near shore. This marked their first lodge today, a large structure, promising plentiful prey. Fresh tooth marks on riverside branches confirmed their expectations. Setting traps here should yield results. Beavers are a keystone species in the entire ecosystem. Their dams create upstream ponds that become foraging grounds for birds and wildlife. But uncontrolled populations spell ecological disaster. Dams cause river levels to rise relentlessly, eventually causing floods or bank breaches. Moreover, their forest destruction rate far outpaces nature's regrowth capacity. Hence, local professional hunters deliberately manage their numbers to maintain ecological balance. Tom first deployed a body grip trap, spreading it within a rock crevice, before covering it with dry brush. To lure prey, he used a bottle of beaver castor, a territorial marker, functioning like wolf urine. Creatures drawn by the scent would step into the trap. Tom assigned Hank the task of applying the castor. Afterward, they drifted downstream by boat to find a second lodge. Undeniably, this area proved ideal for beaver trapping. Freshly gnawed trees, both large and small, were ubiquitous, eliminating any need for dedicated searching. These docile creatures' destructive power was astonishing. Their primary need was actually small branches, but short legs couldn't reach them, forcing beavers to fell entire trees. They could topple a 15-centimeter diameter tree in just 15 minutes. At this rate, one beaver fells hundreds of trees annually. A single family destroys thousands. Truly staggering destruction. This marked their second lodge today, adorned with numerous fresh sticks. Another promising location. This time they used a Conibear 330 trap, a powerful device, typically placed at lodge entrances. Any beaver swimming through would be instantly captured. Body grip traps were also deployed. After working all day outdoors, the trio finally completed their task. Whether they caught anything would only be revealed tomorrow. The next day arrived. The 3 men rowed their boat back to yesterday's beaver lodge. Unexpectedly, the first trap had already caught prey. Though the animal was small, weighing just a few pounds, it was better than nothing. This was the smallest beaver Tom had ever caught in his career. The second trap, a Conibear 330, had also captured something. The tail floating on the water's surface indicated this one was undoubtedly large. Sure enough, this prey weighed over 30 pounds, nowhere near the size of the first. Continuing onward, they reached another beaver lodge. The trap set yesterday remained untouched, clearly having caught nothing. However, another spot didn't disappoint, successfully trapping a third beaver, also sizable. 3 catches from 4 traps made this haul exceptionally successful. Properly processing them into handicrafts could easily fetch hundreds of dollars. With their bountiful harvest, the trio returned to camp content. In Montana's Salish Mountains, Paul purchased 60 acres of homestead land through hunting, building a villa on it. Additionally, he owned vast hunting grounds, so extensive that even he wasn't entirely sure what animals inhabited them or where they hid. He invited his friend Mark to survey his territory by plane. Unexpectedly, they spotted large herds of Canadian elk, migrating, along with several small ponds, likely inhabited by beavers, muskrats, minks, and other small animals. After landing, Paul headed to those ponds first, to set some traps. Using intelligence gathered from the flight, he quickly located a beaver dam. But since minks were his target today, he set only a few small traps to test this new hunting ground. While waiting for results, he planned to hunt a Canadian elk. As winter provisions, hunting wasn't permitted on flight days, so he set out with gear the next morning. Legal hunting required a hunting license issued by authorities and a species-specific tag. It also had to occur within designated timeframes. Expired tags were invalid. Additionally, public hunting areas risked encounters with other hunters, so wearing brightly colored clothing was essential to prevent accidents. Paul's target was a Canadian elk, for its substantial size and meat yield. But if unavailable, an ordinary deer would suffice. After a long trek, he finally spotted prey. Unfortunately, a doe. His tag was only valid for bucks, so he couldn't hunt it. This season, deer typically traveled in pairs. Scrutinizing the area, he soon found the correct target nearby. He attempted to close in for a shot, but the deer detected him first and vanished instantly. With no alternative, he continued searching. From dawn till dusk, no other prey appeared. As he prepared to return home, an ordinary deer suddenly emerged before him. It was female, so he held his fire. Then a second doe leaped from the brush, followed immediately by a buck. Paul didn't hesitate. He pulled the trigger instantly and scored a hit. But upon approaching, he found no blood on the ground, greatly complicating tracking. With nightfall approaching, he had to work quickly. Guided only by scattered tracks, he pressed on. Though challenging, he refused to give up. Perseverance paid off. Through relentless effort, he finally located the deer. Though not large, it would feed him for 2 months. This freed him to focus entirely on trapping for income. With temperatures still mild, the meat required smoking for long-term preservation. He'd built a smokehouse in advance for this purpose. To test it, Paul sliced the finest tenderloin from the deer and began smoking it for that night's dinner. Also residing in Montana was Tom from the Bison Valley. Many might not know. The two men were close friends, often discussing hunting together and learning from each other. Today, Tom drove to Paul's homestead. Ordinary beaver pelts sold for 30 IMZI, 30 minus 100, but after Tom's processing, their value could multiply severalfold or even tenfold. Thus, Paul invited Tom to learn his techniques. Tom, in turn, wanted to witness Paul's lucrative wolf trapping skills. After a 2-hour drive, they reunited. Following brief greetings, they dove straight into business. To maximize pelt value, meticulous processing was essential. Skinning required extreme care, removing all adhered fat without damaging the hide. Such precision took about an hour per pelt. Though slower than Paul's methods, it commanded significantly higher prices. Once skinned, fat had to be scraped clean, then the pelt mounted on a circular frame. Salt was sprinkled to prevent decay, before air drying for sale. The pair spent the day processing 3 pelts. Despite the slower pace, the profit margin was substantially higher. Now Paul took Tom to inspect his wolf traps. As everyone knew, wolves were exceptionally challenging to catch, but their price was undeniably tempting, each fetching at least $2,000 USD. Wolves caught during Paul's 6-week trapping season accounted for over 25% of his annual income. He'd begun preparations as early as summer. They soon reached a trap site, finding the trigger sprung, yet empty. Reasons varied, but what mattered now was resetting the wolf trap. This gave Tom a chance to observe Paul's technique. After resetting, they proceeded to the next site. Paul's wolf trapping line spanned 36 kilometers. Covering its entire length yielded nothing. Hardly surprising, as outsmarting wolves was notoriously difficult. Success was never guaranteed. Wolves frequently roamed this final area. If empty here too, they'd return home empty-handed. At the 11th hour, they succeeded, capturing this year's first North American gray wolf. It was massive, a male specimen, $2,000 USD. Now secured, wolves rank among the world's most elusive prey, making them nearly every hunter's ultimate dream. Ecstatic with their achievement, the two kindred spirits returned happily to camp with their prized bounty. Deep in frigid central Alaska, the wilderness couple Brett and Ivy had spent weeks trapping dozens of sables. At this year's prices, selling these pelts could easily earn thousands of dollars. Yet it still fell short. Each winter, they needed at least $10,000 USD to break even. Today they inspected a central trap line, stretching over 110 kilometers. Past experience showed this route yielded the most furs and the greatest variety. 3 days prior, they reset some traps to target larger, more valuable game. Now was time to check results. Unexpectedly, shortly after starting, they found 2 wolverines captured, likely a male and female pair. Wolverines usually roam alone, pairing only during mating season. Catching 2 simultaneously was exceedingly rare. In Brett's decade of trapping, this was only his second encounter. Their exceptionally dense fur offered superb insulation, and the golden brown pelts were strikingly beautiful, often used for parka hood trim. Due to their rarity, each pelt fetched $700 USD, with prices reportedly still rising. After resetting traps, they pressed onward. Amidst some brush, they spotted a moose running and halted immediately. Living self-sufficiently in the wild, large game like this formed their staple diet. Venison provided lasting sustenance and warmth in winter. But so far, they hadn't located a legal bull moose. So whenever moose appeared, they paused to observe, identifying gender for potential harvest. Some might question, isn't gender obvious from antlers? But this season, many bulls had already shed theirs. Only by scrutinizing the residual pedicles, antler bases, could gender be determined. Confirming only females and calves here, they resumed checking traps. Not far ahead, they found a coyote captured. Alaskan coyotes resembled mainland U.S. variants, but their fur was denser and higher quality, commanding better prices. The couple was overjoyed. When luck struck, nothing could hold it back. In just half a day, their earnings surpassed their total from the prior 2 weeks. With much trapline remaining, more catches seemed likely. Continuing onward, they encountered moose again. Finally, a bull. They unloaded one snowmobile, riding double on the other in pursuit. Brett drove, while Ivy acted as shooter. Success would mark her first ever moose harvest. Catching up, Ivy took immediate aim. As the animal offered a broadside profile, she pulled the trigger without hesitation. A massive thud signaled success. This harvest meant no winter food worries remained. Fortune had truly smiled. Funds and provisions secured at once. Such abundant resources in their hunting grounds brought profound relief. Now they hurried to process the carcass. For transport to camp, this moose wasn't exceptionally large, around 900 pounds, yet moving it still proved arduous. Before field dressing, they prepared tools meticulously, aiming for the cleanest possible process. Living off-grid meant limited laundry opportunities. Long-term, maintaining a clean workspace saved significant hassle. Since marrying Ivy, Brett gained an efficient partner. Tasks taking him a full day solo, now finished in half a day jointly. Chatting and laughing together also eased fatigue. The gender combination truly made labor less exhausting. Such hard-won game demanded zero waste. Hooves, head, and antlers held solid market value. Prime cuts fed them, while bones and entrails became trapping bait. By the time everything was quartered and loaded, light was fading. Home beckoned. Remaining hides and offal would be collected tomorrow. A single day's work yielded thousands in furs, plus hundreds of pounds of venison. Brett and Ivy would likely fall asleep, smiling, and dream sweetly.